This is Russell Brunson, and last year, his company had 90,000 active customers and a revenue of $160 million. He achieved all of this by relying on 3 principles that I will explain to you in detail in this video. In the beginning, he tried several times to launch this company, but always failed. He couldn't find the right way to present the project to the market. So, he asked himself, what creates a mass movement that changes people's lives and leads to great entrepreneurial ventures? If you observe, there are companies and leaders that manage to have a large following, while others, even though they say interesting things, are not very followed. Why? It's a question I've often asked myself too. Well, he did find some answers, applied them to his company, leading it to success, and then wrote this fantastic book, Expert Secrets. There are various styles and personalities that drive great movements, but all of them share the same 3 characteristics indispensably. If you believe that your project deserves to be larger and more followed, make sure to watch the video until the end. 1. Becoming the expert. Every great movement has a leader, an expert who guides it. That leader is you. Perhaps you haven't fully realized it yet, but it's you. The first step to becoming an expert is to truly embrace your role as a leader, to guide your ideal customers towards their destination. Everyone does it in their own style, but this role is indispensable. We are all in the business of relationships, even if you sell a product. Your customers may become aware of you because of a product you sell, but they stay for the relationship they have with you or what you represent. Many don't realize that what sets you apart from the competition is you. Your story and experience are the key to selling your product. There are 5 phases to become an expert and be recognized as such. These phases are certainly for those starting from scratch, but even if you're already established, listen carefully because you might have missed some crucial elements. Step 1. Find your passion. Experiment with a variety of things. Discover what sparks your interest. Immerse yourself completely in that subject. The more you immerse yourself, the more you transition from being fascinated by it to developing mastery. Fascination plus mastery equals passion. Step 2. The reporter. Counting only on what you personally know about the topic isn't enough. You should collect different points of view. Learn all you can about your chosen topic from various angles. There are many ways to do this. You can read different books on the topic, attend different live events, or an excellent method is to start your own podcast where you talk to different experts in the field. This is also a great way to make connections in your industry. Step 3. Your framework. Once you have a solid base of knowledge and add different viewpoints from others, you can create your own personal understanding of the subject and how to excel in your chosen field. At this point, it's important to observe and comprehend success patterns, to establish your own step-by-step guide for codifying what you do, making it possible for others to replicate your success. It's essentially a roadmap of what to do. While the application of this might be more evident for people like coaches, speakers, and writers, it's a relevant concept for everyone, whether you sell a physical product, a service, a software, or anything else. You need to recognize that people buy products and services to achieve a result, so what is the framework to attain that result? Take a dentist, for example. A customer wants white teeth. Surely the framework involves the dentist's teeth whitening service. But if you do just that, you're just a commodity service like any other. What framework can you create? For instance, you could develop a program recommending a specific type of toothbrush and toothpaste, times and methods for brushing, supplements to enhance the result, regular checkups every 6 months, etc. Do you see the difference? Now, how can you create your framework? Firstly, create your hypothesis. Then, test if your hypothesis works on yourself or your business. Give your framework a name that identifies and distinguishes it. Once you've seen success personally, it's time to validate it with others. Provide your framework, along with your product or service for free to demonstrate its effectiveness with other people beyond yourself. Don't skip this phase. It's probably the most important one. Many people have or hear ideas from others and present them as absolute truths without ever testing them. Don't do that. Make sure they work with others too. Often you'll find you need to refine your framework. Do it, and once you see predictable results for those who use it, your confidence in what you offer will skyrocket. What's the next step at this point? It's getting known and finding your voice. You need to start consistently posting content on the most relevant social networks for you. Russell Brunson recommends daily posting for at least a year. Instead of inventing content, simply document what you do and share it on social media. Be consistent and observe what your audience is most interested in. You'll become increasingly skilled and offer more and more engaging content. This allows you to find your way of communicating and the message you want to convey, and that resonates with your audience. In other words, you'll find your voice. When publishing content, make sure it is engaging and not trivial. And how do you do that? You have to find your sweet spot between mainstream and crazy land. Let's call that zone prolific. For example, in the field of diet, mainstream information would be government recommendations like the food pyramid. Many argue that they may not even be correct, but they are accepted by the masses. The masses already know those concepts. They are not interesting. You will never stand out by sharing mainstream information like everyone else. On the other side of the spectrum is crazy land. For example, there are theories that suggest you can survive on sunlight alone to lose weight. Okay, that grabs attention, but it's a bit too much and lacks real credibility. You need to find the right message in the middle of these two extremes. For instance, Dave Asprey created bulletproof coffee, adding good fats like ghee butter to coffee. It helps you feel less hungry and supports weight loss. It was hugely successful. As you can see, it's unique enough to stand out, but not too extreme to be considered part of crazy land. When you create a message like this, you will inevitably create fans, but there will also be those who disagree and criticize you. It's a polarizing message, and that's an essential ingredient for creating a mass movement. If you want to please everyone, you won't truly appeal to anyone. Also, when you communicate, you can use all or just parts of Blair Warren's formula. People will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. Pause the video for a moment if you need to, and reread this sentence carefully. It says it all. Let's say you sell financial consulting services. When you speak, you can promote the concept of successful investing. Assure them that it's not their fault if they haven't succeeded yet and have lost money. Explain how to protect their capital first to avoid the fear of losing more money. Confirm their suspicions that their bank advisor had a conflict of interest and offered products that benefited the bank over them. Criticize institutional investments designed solely to make the broker profit through commissions at their expense. This type of communication will inevitably hit and attract a certain type of audience. Lastly, communicate sincerely. If your audience senses that you're doing it for money, you won't last long. Be authentic and genuinely care about helping those who follow you. Money will come as a consequence. Don't make it about money in the first place. Now, let's explore how to teach your framework. Firstly, you need to understand that everything revolves around your framework. You can explain it in a 2-minute YouTube video, teach it in a 2-hour webinar, or delve into it over a 2-day live event. It all depends on the level of detail you provide. Since it's so important, you must explain it in a way that people understand its value. Otherwise, you risk them not appreciating the gold you're giving them. Firstly, before revealing it, explain how you learned or created it, emphasizing the effort you put into it. The number one mistake many make is rushing into the technical part. Instead, this introduction allows your audience to understand its true value and pay the right attention. After that, talk about the strategy first and the tactics later. The strategy is the overall plan and set of objectives you have with the framework. The tactics are the specific steps and actions one must take, the step-by-step process. As a final step, show how other people have successfully used your framework. Why, you might ask? Because at this point, people are still skeptical about it. They think you achieved the results because you're an expert with some special skills, and they won't be able to do it. But then, you show them that it works with others too. At this point, you know several things about becoming a perceived expert, but a fundamental point is missing. In which market should you position yourself as an expert and your company? All products or services can be categorized into 3 main markets: health, wealth, and relationships. Some may belong to more than one market, but all fall into at least one, even if it's not immediately apparent. For example, if I mention Gillette razors, what market do they belong to? Take a moment to think about it. You might have some doubts. But what if I showed you a Gillette ad featuring a man shaving, and a woman approaches him, and then they go out together? You probably wouldn't hesitate to say that the target market is relationships, right? Under the three main markets, there are sub-markets. For example, the relationships market includes wedding services, dating advice, etc. The wealth market has investments, sales, finance, etc. The health market covers diet, nutrition, workout training, etc. Try to start identifying in which market and sub-market your product or service belongs. If you don't have one yet, try to identify where you could fit in with your business idea. But it doesn't end there. Markets and sub-markets are crowded with competitors. Currently, we are in the era of niche markets, which is an even deeper level. Niches are practically infinite. You can always find further categorization for a sub-market. For example, wealth, sales, selling on Amazon, on Shopify, door-to-door, over the phone, etc. The main mistake people make here is looking at all the various niches and choosing where to position themselves. But that's a mistake because there's already a market leader for that niche. Instead, the question you should ask yourself is, what new niche can I create to become the leader? This, if you've tried it, is not an easy process, but this book explains a good procedure for doing it. Here's what you need to know. Firstly, the market isn't made up of people, it's a location. To help you grasp this concept, let me ask you this question. Where does a fisherman take his basket of caught fish to sell them? Take a moment to think about it. Most people respond, wherever there is the highest number of people, which is the correct answer. So, you go to a location, a market, where buyers and sellers meet. The internet works the same way. Asking, who is your target market, is the wrong question because the market isn't made up of people. The right questions are, who is your ideal customer? And where is your target market? Meaning, where does your ideal customer already go? In the end, you'll create your market niche, but this takes some time. So initially, how do you acquire customers? Here's a part I really liked. Go into your reference submarket and target the frustrated customers that already exist. Not everyone in the submarket is accessible and will come to you. Firstly, there are the die-hard fans of your competitors. Trying to convince them is pointless. They won't change. This is a common mistake. Then, there are the satisfied customers. They aren't in love with the product they currently buy, but the inconvenience of changing is greater than the frustration they are experiencing with the current product. They are also challenging to convince to switch, often leading to a price war that you want to avoid. Finally, there are the frustrated customers. They use someone else's product, but are dissatisfied. They are actively seeking something else that might be more suitable for them. Often, they don't know all the other products and believe they have exhausted their options. These are the customers you are trying to attract. And what offer do you make to them? The offer you make can either compete with or complement what is currently available in the market. To compete, you need to somehow pull customers out of that market and bring them to yours. For example, in the 1950s, the Dove Soap Company hired the services of a famous advertiser, David Ogilvy. He came up with the tagline, "It's not a soap, it's Dove." In doing so, Dove entered the competitive soap market, but attracted those who didn't feel comfortable with a traditional soap, positioning Dove differently. In addition to that, they advertised that Dove was a moisturizer that also happened to be a soap. An example of a complementary offer happened in the 1900s, when there was a surplus of oranges, and people didn't know what to do with them. After discovering that orange juice could be made, a company invented the orange juice extractor and promoted the idea that you could make healthy orange juice. They sold the extractor and also sold more oranges. If you truly want to succeed, you must know your market and understand the frustrations of customers in that market and where they are located. And that concludes the first component for creating a mass movement. Let's move on to the second, the new opportunity. For every successful mass movement, the leader has always presented a new opportunity rather than an improvement offer. Our role here is not to fix something that's broken, but to replace it with something new. This means creating a new category and becoming its leader. Offering an improvement offer is difficult and doesn't work well for various reasons. The most important ones are that customers will associate your offer with previous ones that didn't work. Associating your offer with others means you're selling a commodity and not something truly differentiating. But the main reason is status. Increasing status is one of the key factors that drives people to buy. With an improvement offer, the status practically doesn't change, whereas it does change if you do a good job presenting the new opportunity. So how do you create a new opportunity? Start with which of the three main markets your ideal customer's desire results in: health, wealth, or relationships. Identify the vehicle they are currently using and identify the frustration they have. By doing this, you are going to the niche level. Now decide if your new opportunity is a niche change or if you're moving up a level and having them change their submarket. For example, in my home country, I saw a good example of a niche change. This real estate company targeted frustrated customers in the field because they hadn't made profits from flipping houses and presented a new model that involves not buying but renting entire apartments and then subletting individual rooms to university students, creating a new category. An example of submarket change, if we stay in real estate, would be targeting the same frustrated failed house flippers who want to earn money and lead them to an opportunity within the internet marketing submarket. A crucial point to understand about the opportunity switch is that your business can sell more products and services, but the opportunity switch you present is always only one. Otherwise, you distract and confuse customers. This is a common mistake, where a company wins you as a customer by convincing you of one thing and then tries to sell you something else, convincing you of a different thing. Instead, when you have identified the opportunity switch you are presenting, everything revolves around that. For example, Russell Brunson convinces customers that regular websites are dead, and funnels are his new opportunity. In simple terms, if you're not familiar, funnels are the sequence of marketing steps that you create to convert your leads into customers. Once he convinces you, he doesn't try to persuade you on another new opportunity. Instead, he continues to offer products and services aligned with that new belief you now have, namely that funnels are the way to go. And so, he offers a funnel software, a course on creating funnels, a course on selling through webinars within funnels, and so on. But not only that, the same content can be delivered differently with few modifications at significantly different prices. Think of a book and then a course. There isn't much difference in content, but the way they are presented varies a lot for the user, who might see certain aspects and steps better in the course and be willing to pay much more than for the book. Also, if you can create tools within your framework, this adds even more value compared to just selling information. For example, you could create a software that performs a part of the framework. Brunson's funnel software is an example of this. The same goes for a staff training agency that could create an e-learning platform for companies' training, or create physical products. For example, if you sell a survival flashlight, you could create your framework around that, and of course include the survival flashlight as the basic tool to have. Alright, now let's move on to the third component, the future-based cause. The final step in creating a mass movement and becoming an expert is to create a vision of a better future to believe in, and show your audience that it is possible. If people believe in it, they will follow. A striking example occurred in sports where, before 1954, it was thought to be scientifically impossible, and even dangerous to the human body, to run the mile in less than 4 minutes. Then one day, Roger Bannister ran it in 3 minutes, 59 seconds, and 4/10. The record was then broken again by another runner only 46 days later, and since then, more than 1,400 runners have run the mile in under 4 minutes. It's the same for your clients. Only if they believe in the possibility of the better future you outline will they join your project. People want to associate themselves with something bigger, and it's your job to create that vision. First, you have to decide what kind of future you want to create. Then, you have to codify how to create it in a clear and appealing way. Finally, you have to continue communicating it, as if you were in a political campaign. You need to create an identity shift in the customers who join your community. You don't just want them to say they bought your product or know how to do that specific thing you teach. You want them to think that they are that thing. Brunson, for example, created an identity for his tribe as, "I am a funnel hacker." And the people in his community, the loyal ones, don't just know how to create funnels. They feel like funnel hackers. Define the identity of your tribe well, explain it, and communicate it effectively, and you'll see loyal followers join your cause. In this direction, it helps to create rewards for milestones reached along the way towards the final result of the future-based cause. For example, Brunson, for his funnel hackers using his software, has created awards for revenue levels reached through online sales. And then, he publicly rewards those who achieve these levels. This way, others see that it's possible and they are more likely to do it too. The surprisingly beautiful thing about communities is that the more they grow, the more they will go on without you. People initially join for the expert, but then they stay for the community. An additional step is to find a humanitarian cause to contribute to, associated with the goals of your tribe, so that there is a greater game for them to play than just achieving their individual result. This creates a greater sense of belonging to the group and the feeling of being part of something important. These are the fundamental elements for creating your movement. As mentioned, these three components are crucial. If you analyze the biggest movements on Earth, you will always notice these three components. That's why you should try to incorporate these concepts into what you do. Now, this is basically only half of the book, Expert Secrets. As you can see, it is rich in concepts and information. The second part is about one-to-many selling, both from the stage and through webinars. It talks about how to use your expert position to convert your prospects into customers. Honestly, it looks to me like a separate book, so I'll cover that entire topic in the next video because it's very interesting. But before closing this video, there's one more thing to add that connects the concepts of creating a movement with selling. Storytelling. You need to understand that selling is emotional, not logical. Many make the mistake of jumping into explaining the technical part of their product or service too soon. But sales are then much lower because a fundamental ingredient is missing. In fact, if you think back to your own experience, before basically buying anything, you had an experience that led to a realization. An epiphany that then led you to be interested in the technical details to justify the purchase. Like when someone is unhappy with their job and suddenly realizes they need to start their own business. How can you sell a course on starting a business to someone who has never had that realization of wanting to do it? Do you understand? So, before presenting your product, you must have a story to tell that makes your prospect live the experience you had so that they can have the same realization. Only then will they truly listen to you because they understand its importance. Brunson calls this story the Epiphany Bridge. This, along with other stories to create, will be the basis of your sales presentations. In the book, Brunson first briefly explains the work done by others on storytelling, specifically The Hero's Journey by Campbell. Fascinating work that you can read independently if you're interested. However, according to Brunson, it was more dedicated to myths and legends and not easily applicable to business. So, what can you do now? First, I recommend watching this video about the book StoryBrand, which Brunson also mentions and teaches you how to tell an effective business story. Once you've watched that, as soon as it's ready, here will appear the second part of the Expert Secrets book, where Brunson masterfully explains how to leverage your expert position and apply stories to sell. Until next time.